Welcome everyone to another episode of Tutorial Tuesday. It's week 48, 2019. I'm glad that you're along with us. I can't believe that there's only 4 weeks left of this year and I have no idea where the time has gone. Hey, one announcement and then we'll get right into your questions. Announcement number one, I'll be down at the Paisley's booth over Cowboy Christmas, December 5th through the 14th in Las Vegas. You're going to want to stop down and visit us. Now, I'm going to be doing something that I've never done before, so make sure to get down to the Paisley's booth at Cowboy Christmas in the Las Vegas Convention Center, December 5th through the 14th. That's booth number 3714. I'll see you down there. Okay, our first question comes in via direct message and we're talking about stock photography. Now, stock photography is something that you can do just as a passive way to get income. And when I mean passive, I'm not talking hundreds of dollars. I'm talking, maybe 25 bucks a month or maybe 50 bucks a month, something like that. There are places like Shutterstock.com, Adobe Stock, Getty Images, iStock. There's a handful of others I'm sure that are out there. Take a look at those. Now, some of them will require you to submit a portfolio, and in that portfolio review, they're looking for technical quality, not necessarily social media praise. So make sure that your images are sharp where they're supposed to be. The second thing is this. As far as stock photography goes, make sure that you don't have any identifiable brands in there. And if you're using the likeness of a person and they can be identified, you'll need a model release as well. And what I'm talking about as far as identifiable brands, if you take a picture of the back of a cowboy and that Wrangler logo is showing, that's not something that can be used in stock photography because that Wrangler logo is trademarked. So take a look at those sites and I hope that helps you. Yep, absolutely. In fact, I'll do better than that. I'm going to go ahead and link the specific part in that video that you can go back to. So go ahead and swipe over and take a look at that on my YouTube channel. This is probably one of those things that a lot of photographers don't talk about, but you need to find, if you're not printing yourself, you need to find a lab that's going to produce what you create. And that lab for me is White House Custom Color. Take a look at them. Well, I'll tell you first, I recommend using whatever works for you in your workflow. And if that increases your production, that is fantastic. I used a Wacom tablet for a little bit of time, but I didn't take to it. So it's not something that's part. Don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you not to use a tablet or not to try a tablet. If you try it and you love it, you're probably going to stick by it. But it didn't work for me. And as a result, it's another few $100s down the drain. Thank you so much for your compliment. I really, really appreciate that. And thank you for taking the time to share. I can't take any of the praise without giving thanks back to those that let me in their lives to capture them and post. So thank you. The answer is I've used both. These are some of my favorite portraits. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and post a picture from a couple years back that I took. One of my favorites. It just brings a smile to my face all the time, and we'll talk about it. So the technical details to that image really are, what I did was I had an artificial light or a strobe standing camera right in that image, and I was balancing using a slower shutter speed to pick up those lights on the barn lights that you see on top there. So yeah, I love both of them. They're fantastic. Now you can just put somebody inside of the doorway, and I'll post a picture of that without any use of artificial light. So let's take a look at the next one. Now in that one of Renee, I'm just using natural light, and the black background comes from the barn doorway, which is perfect, especially when the snow is coming down. It's going to provide that extra pop for the snow. So it's being able to control the light, of course, see the light, and use it to your advantage. So this question came in two different parts, and this really sums it up. How much major editing do I do in Photoshop and how much in Lightroom? And the answer to that is 100% of my images go through Lightroom and get a preset, and of those, maybe 30%. And 30% of those would go on into Photoshop, and that 30% would probably have things done to it like removal of distractions and maybe additions of textures and things like that. But major is kind of subjective. Now here's the comedy portion of Tutorial Tuesday, brought to you by Bruce Adorn. So Bruce asks, how much cowboy cred is surrendered when you wear a hat like this? So let's take a look at that. Now, my response back to Bruce was, I say zero. Zero cred is surrendered when you wear a hat like that because you own who you are. What say you? How much cowboy cred, if any, is surrendered when you wear a hat like that? And as a follow-up to a question that was asked last week about color space, that being sRGB and Adobe RGB, Bruce also wanted to add this, so I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it. How many clicks of the shutter does it take me to get one perfect image? I'll say this about my own images. I don't have perfect images. In fact, I would go a step farther than that, and I would tell you that I can look at every one of the images on my wall and I can pick them apart. I don't think that our final product is ever done. I don't think that I think it's done, but I think for me anyways, I can look back at every one of my images and tear them apart. Does it take me a certain number to get to a one perfect image? No, I don't think so at all. In fact, I would say we take millions of good images, but there's very, very few, for me anyways, that go on to those great images. Iconic images for me, the one that comes to mind over and over, and it's because it's more of a story, and I think technically it's good, but it's a picture of my wife. And for me, a lot of people will say, the best image I'm going to take is the one I'll take tomorrow. But if I look back at the body of my work, it's a picture of my wife from I don't know how many years ago that I've taken that I always come back to as one of my favorite images. Now, I know that's not quite the answer probably that you're looking for, but I don't think that any one of us can say that we can take a certain number of images to get a perfect image. We have to do the best we can, use the experience, knowledge, and talent that we have in that one moment that we press the shutter, and we do that every day. So I hope that answer satisfies you. A quick break in the action and a message from our good friends over at Paisley's. So go ahead and take a look at this video.
Hey folks, Thanksgiving might be right around the corner, but Cowboy Christmas is next week. We're going to be in booth 3714 at the Las Vegas Convention Center. And Chris is going to be with us. It's going to be a great time there from December 5th to the 14th. Can't wait to see you there.
There's a few things that I think about with this question, and I'll tell you up front, my disclaimer, I don't know anybody else's business but my own, and so if this was happening to me, these are the things that I would look for. Number one, is it that time in the season? So is it Christmas? Is it tax season? People getting ready to go on vacation? Those things are important. Also, how long has it been since you released your new pricing? Give that some time to seed out in your market. And then number two, is there a shock to your market? Have you gone from $100 to $1,000? If that's the case, you may be shocking the market, and it may take longer, or you might want to back down off that pricing as well. Those are a few things that come to mind. And when you're also doing this, don't ever forget to look back at trends. So, what were your sales and where did the money come from last year? And can you bump that up this year? Those are things that I look for going into the new year. I hope that helps you. As simple as this question is, I had to really think about it because I don't know any acquaintances or anybody close to me that's a photographer that's participated in a Black Friday special. But that being said, you might have some downtime and might be able to, like exposure in photography, there's no one right rule, there's no one right exposure, and there's no rule saying that you can't participate in this. You may find that doing a special now to book seniors for 2020 would be a good thing. There's a couple things with this question that I want to point out. Number one, I never send a copyright release because what that does is it releases ownership of your image to somebody that you assign, and I don't do that at all. But a print release. Now let's take this one more step. When you download a song from the internet, assuming iTunes or Google Play, you're downloading a license to replay that song. You're not downloading ownership of that song. The band owns that song. Now what you'll find in the industry is if you're a photographer that gives rights to people to print their own images and they go to Walmart to get a cheap print, Walmart is going to beat them up over not having a release from the photographer. Now, as the business owner, it's your responsibility to make sure that your clients have what they need to get the images that they want. So take it upon yourself. If you need to give them a release, then fill out a release for them.